All right, welcome to the City of New Carrollton Council meeting hybrid. Tonight is February 4th, Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. And I have no one in the audience here. Is there anyone with a hand raised online, Maisha? So we can go right into our presenters. And the first one is Bolton, interview with Bolton Rewards. Let's see rewards.
There is no one online with a hand raised.
There's no one online?
Not with a hand raised or anything.
Oh, okay. Well, Maisha told me that. So we're going to go to the Bolton folks. So can you hook them in, Maisha? Are they there?
Is someone from Bolton Rewards online?
Maybe we should skip to the next person.
The next person's scheduled for
But they're
20
not
minutes later.
7:30.
Oh. Well, I'll take this moment just to excuse myself for a second. I need my glasses. Bear with me.
No more feeling.
Thank you.
Well, I made it all the way from Florida. I'm 15 minutes from the house and stuck in traffic on the Beltway.
Well, stay safe.
I'm just shocked to see the snow.
Yeah. If you drive on some side streets, you'll see a lot more.
No, I'm going straight home.
You'll see some as you pull into your neighborhood.
Well, Maisha, you'll know when they come on, right?
We will.
If they do. So we can move to item number 6 and do the council announcements while we wait. Okay? And I'll start with Brianna. Have any announcements to share tonight?
I don't have any announcements other than if you haven't heard and you're interested in knowing, Prince George's County Schools has announced they're going to be on a 2-hour delay for the remainder of the week. We are all hopefully optimistic that we'll go back to full-time school on Monday. Please stay in touch with your county council or school board reps if you have any questions about after-school activities, transportation, or busing. But that's the only announcement I have.
Okay. Cynthia, you have any announcements to share?
Okay, first I would like to say happy Black History Month, everybody. And secondly, I made a statement last night and the people made it again. We need to get those education, PG County educators back down there that discuss with us when we sell those schools to them so they could tell us what's the update and like they said, the parking, the school thing, and stuff like that. That's all.
Okay. Agnelli, if you're on, you have any announcements for us?
Yes, good evening. I want to publicize the city council town hall on February 14 at 2:00 at the library, and God willing, I will be there in person. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, outstanding. Lincoln, I'm going to go ahead of you, but we're doing council announcements because the first consultant hasn't shown up online yet. And it's going to be virtual. Okay, so take your time because I have a few announcements. On March the 5th, I encourage the staff who can do it and the council members to participate in Read Across America at Carrollton Elementary. I think everyone's been invited. I know I have been for the last 10 years, and I go and read to the kids. I always enjoy it. Read Across America is March the 5th. If you've been invited, please respond one way or the other. And if you haven't been invited, you contact the people over there, and I'm sure they'd like to welcome all of us. Council schedule. I'd like to treat the selection of a consultant for the compensation study to be a dedicated meeting. Next week, we don't have any meetings scheduled, but I'd like to call one for Wednesday, February 11th at 7:00 for 1 hour only. I think we can do it in an hour and everybody voice the contractors they like and don't like, and let's get our views out here and get ready for a vote at the legislative session next week. How's that sound? Oh.
Okay, Wednesday's my birthday. I'm going out for dinner. What time would this be and how long?
7 o'clock for 1 hour, cut right into your dinner, right?
Can anybody make it 6? No?
Yeah, we can do 6 in that one.
No,
can do-
make sure.
Lincoln might have trouble with 6.
Yeah, 6 is very challenging for me as
Okay,
well.
6. What did you say?
Um,
Virtual?
Is it virtual or hybrid?
I'm open to either. This is just for us to discuss this, but it has to be done in public setting.
But
So-
Mr. Chair, do you really think it's going to take an hour?
I don't, but I like to allow time for people to voice their views.
I just feel like it could be an agenda item at the next meeting. I mean, I've been taking notes the whole time, and so I'll be prepared to speak very quickly.
Okay, well, this is
Are you
something
from-
I wanted to do, but maybe we shouldn't do it. So let's pass on that. We can discuss that later. Because I have one more announcement, and then Lincoln do announcements. And you're with Bolton?
Mhm.
Oh, welcome. Good to see you. I have a couple announcements related to the Scouts. The Secretary of War, Pegstead, came after the Scouts today and said since they admitted girls, they violated the DEI. So federal funding is cut off for Scouts.
Oh, God.
And if you don't think Scouts are fun, I'm a Scout, assistant Scoutmaster. If you don't think Scouts are funded by the federal government, they're not a lot, but they do have a jamboree each year, and the jamboree is usually in the DC area. It's in West Virginia this year. And the federal government provides troops, tents, cots, army supplies, and personnel to help with the Scouts. And Peg says that if you're going to allow girls into the Scouts, that violates DEI, so that funding's cut off. But that's, I still think Scouting, that's my announcement, is still a good program. The Scouts meet on Tuesday night at the Elks Lodge in Kenilworth, if anybody's interested in Scouting, which also leads me to something that I won't be able to announce again at a council meeting, because our next council meeting will probably be the Wednesday after the holiday. And on the holiday, which is, what day is that, February? What's the holiday, Maisha? 16th, 18th?
The holidays is 16.
The 16th is a Monday, and we're not going to meet on the holiday. And then that 16th is the day that the Scouts will have their annual chili supper. So that'll be at the Elks Lodge from 5 until 9. And please feel free to come over and get a ticket and eat chili with the Scouts. Read Across America, Scouts, and we'll talk about the council thing later. Now that, Lincoln, you have any quick announcements before?
I actually don't have any announcements, Mr. Chair, other than to continue to be careful in this bad weather. It's going to be very, very cold this weekend, so please check on your neighbors and make sure everyone's safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll welcome Bolton. Please.
Where would you like me to,
I think the podium's the best for everybody. The camera can pick you up there if you don't mind standing. Is that okay? If you prefer to sit, we have lots of seats tonight, though.
I noticed that. It's bad weather keeps people home.
Do you have a presentation that you wanted to share on
You
the
know,
screen?
we were told we have 5 minutes for a presentation and then it's Q&A. So for 5 minutes, it really didn't seem to make sense.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to kind of speak to the project and outline those major
I was the
steps.
one that set those guidelines because I really didn't want to go through the resumes and what the firm has done in the history. I wanted to hear what your approach was to the project. So I wanted to limit it to that. If you can't do that in 5 minutes, take a little longer, and you have until at least 7:30. So.
Okay, great. Well, I think as it's outlined in terms of the project steps that are there, the way the request for proposal was written, it's fairly clear what the goals are of the engagement and what the projects are. I think for us, the first piece, Project A, the actual employee pay audit, when we talk about the project planning for that, I think a big portion of that's going to be working out the communication protocols for this Project A, but then also for B and C as well. I think part of the question for us will be what do we report to the council on and how directly, and then what do we report with administration on and how directly, and how those two work together. We do this very frequently as we're doing performance management or sort of process management for a city manager, working with the council to help determine the city manager's performance for a year and pay. So it's a common thing for us to understand how to balance out that relationship. So the actual pay audit is really just digging in as was specified, looking at the past several years in terms of what's actually occurred, at the time, what was approved to occur, what the policy was, and looking for deviations in it. Part of that will also then trying to understand if there is a deviation, is there some time-based proration or some piece that's like that to it. But ultimately being able to report back and be able to explain any deviations, but hopefully give the council some confidence that policy was followed and what occurred was what was appropriate. We'll come in with a very objective perspective on that. And for us, we tend to prefer to be able to take resources and materials back to our shop to be able to work on our normal tools and those sorts of things. But not knowing data availability, the format it would be in, some of those pieces, it might mean that we do need to spend a couple days on site here trying to work through the records. Today, most records can be digitized if they're not already electronic, so it's easy enough to kind of work through that. As I said, I think a big piece is going to be the communication protocol with that. And if we have trouble getting information, who do we turn to really kind of push the issue to try and collect that data? At the same time, we would want to start the organizational assessment. And my colleague from Matrix, I think she was planning on trying to be on with us about 7:30, but I'm more than happy to answer the process. We actually worked a couple of years ago with Tacoma Park as a joint group, doing a broad organizational assessment and a classification and compensation program. We have assembled technical specialists in NANCE, in law enforcement, that are part of the Matrix team to do the organizational assessment. There's a lot of discovery with management and administration. I think this is part of what we would want to understand is what role the council wants to play in sort of setting the stage in terms of service delivery, expectation of constituents, those sorts of things. It's kind of an if-then statement. If the council wants to be able to serve the community this way, then this is the way some of the service delivery should occur. So it's not just there's one way to do this particular task. There's a lot of overlap in the organizational analysis and the job analysis that we will utilize in the third project, which is the classification and compensation study. So as we mentioned in the beginning, all of the projects won't finish at the same time, but we're going to kick them all off at the same time. So, all of the benefit of doing the audit, we'll use that as part of the classification and compensation study. So we'll be able to set up the routines to make sure we understand who's making what, what the roles are and those sorts of things. So, the key for us is I think the deliverables are fairly clear. It's trying to get the project done efficiently from a financial perspective, which I think we've proposed, but also so it is less of a burden on whomever is part of it for the city, whether it's the council, administration, or supervisors, managers, those groups. So that's kind of our approach, and what we're proposing. Would love to talk further questions and be able to make sure there's a joint understanding for sure.
Excuse me, you're Dan?
I'm Dan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Dan.
I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself. Yeah, I'm actually the president of Golden Rewards.
Okay, thank you.
The head of
Did you
Golden
come here
Rewards.
from Towson?
I did. Actually, I live in Cincinnati, but whenever I lived in Northern Virginia for a long time. So whenever I come back, I spend some time in our corporate offices in Towson. So
I'm not going to start with the questions. I just wanted to clarify who you were. And
Yeah,
if
appreciate
somebody comes on at 7:30, we'll make time to hear from them if they have things to contribute. But for now, I'm going to let the council ask some questions.
Sure.
And I'll start with Cynthia. Cynthia, you prepared for Bolton questions?
He's getting back.
What's she saying?
He's getting them back. Miss Cynthia, you're on mute if you're talking.
Cynthia was just in Florida, so she's.
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
you can.
Oh, I was saying I really didn't get enough information to ask questions, so I'll stay mute until I hear something come out that I'm interested in. Thank you.
Okay. I know Agnelli's read this. Agnelli, you have your questions ready?
Good evening. I want to refer the other council members to page 18 of Bolton's proposal. Can you speak to the market survey and how you intend to conduct that, identify the peers, and also the budgeted 20 half-hour meetings? Talk about those two components of the project, please.
So the 20 half-hour meetings are utilized. One of the terms that gets thrown around is a desk audit. But if we feel like we need to meet with an employee manager directly to make sure we understand the job, that's when we meet with the employee to make sure we understand what their role is. It's hard to know how many of those we'll need to have, but as we looked at the budget, we included 20 of those as part of the scope of the study. In terms of the survey process, we have something that's called our Total Rewards Data Exchange. And it's something that we use in the government sector. It allows us to get the highest level of participation. So we will work with you, and this will be one of those communication questions. Who has what input in terms of what the peers are, basically. I think we can come up with a starting point from some of our other studies in the DC metro area. But certainly we would want council to bless and approve what that list is, who we're comparing to. And then you may or may not want administration to have input. Usually you do. And certainly we would welcome that, to understand who those peers are from a competitive perspective. We actually will reach out to, there's 15 organizations that are going to be invited. We'll contact them directly, usually through their heads of HR or chief HR officers, and get from them person by person pay data. It's unidentified by name, but we get person by person information in terms of what their jobs are, departments are, pay rates, variable pay, a lot of those other components that allow us to really predict the market very accurately. And from our perspective as compensation professionals, in a very statistically valid way, as an approach. Did that help answer the question?
Yes. In your experience, how willing are these peers willing to commit the time to respond to surveys? Because I understand this would be without any particular compensation to the organizations we would be reaching out to, right?
Well, there is compensation in the sense that we will summarize the results at the end, and that we would include data from the city, from New Carrollton, and give them a participants report. So they would get the results in a very summarized fashion to be able to use for their own analyses if they wanted to do that. I will say we tend to be very good at it based on how we collect data. It's not a lot of matching. All they really have to do is get to know Bolton, and in this area they will, so that they have confidence we're going to treat their data confidentially. It's not going to get out to others. So from there, it's usually kind of a download of their pay.
My friend. Good evening. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that was a good way to make me stop. That's good.
Sorry, it was an interruption, unexpected interruption here. I want to let you finish before I do the follow-up question.
I think I did, unless I didn't answer your question.
No, you did. How confident are you on the timeline proposed of 12 to 14 weeks in completing the 3 phases?
I'm very confident based on those areas that Bolton has control over. There are certain areas like getting the management meetings scheduled with the city administration and council members. Certainly there are priorities other than the study that the city will have. and we can't force you to meet within that time frame necessarily. So that's why we have the caveat around, scheduling meetings on a timely basis, providing information on a timely basis. And we're not looking for urgency. It's just, you can't be strung out too far, for sure.
Okay, and lastly, and please excuse me if I'm not remembering the complete proposal completely or accurately. Do you provide any support after the final report is delivered, when the city is actually into the implementation of all the recommendations, or that would be an additional commitment task to engage Bolton with?
We provide technical support, endless phone calls, in terms of depending on what actually gets implemented in terms of the recommended compensation system or organizational structure changes, those sorts of things. There is a limit to that, and depending on what is needed, if it's a lot of hands-on or something, it is something that would be out of scope of this study. It's just too hard to predict, ultimately what assistance the city would need. Either communicating the program, kind of getting in and looking at other software solutions potentially. It's such a broad scope. It'd be very hard to get our arms around at this point in terms of financially what that would be.
But what can you offer as part of the project if Bolton is engaged after that final report is delivered, and some months or weeks go by and the city's into the getting ready to implement whatever recommendations?
As the city would be refining any particular recommendation we made and making it specific, we'll continue to have meetings, have discussions, provide very quick email responses, all of those. We probably have 7 different clients right now that are sort of in that phase. And those are all part of any ongoing relationship. So it's helping them understand the ways to communicate. We'll do a lot of review of communication materials. So what I found is it's usually fairly clear to the client and Bolton, but fairly clear to the client what's an actual more major task, that requires a lift and something that might be out of scope. It's usually understood.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And let me go to Lincoln. You ready, Lincoln? Any questions?
Sure. Brianna? Oh, it's okay. What's gonna go?
I'll let Brianna go last.
Oh, okay.
She went
All right.
first.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dan, for your presentation. I just have a couple of questions. Actually, my colleague took 2 questions off of my list. But I noticed that you have 40 years of experience and you have 150 member staff, which is really great. I was impressed by that. And you've also worked with municipalities here in Prince George's County already, including Greenbelt and Bowie. That was impressive to me as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, as well as the number of clients we have on the benefits and actuarial side are all over the area. Surprised that New Carrollton's not one of our clients, frankly.
Very good. But I do have 2 specific questions. Can you explain to me, which I've probably heard a little bit about, but I'm hoping that you can go into a little bit more detail, the comp manager database? Mm-hmm. As I understand it, there are 500,000 records in it based on what I read in your proposal, and how it will help you complete the project here for the city of Carrollton to move forward.
So it'll be very specific. Really, it'll be populated during the audit. We'll use data on employees, jobs, those sorts of things to bring it into it. It's a system that we use to classify jobs, job descriptions if necessary, to develop pay structures and grading and evaluation. So it's I'd like to describe it as a really, really robust Excel workbook with a lot of tables, but it's an access database. So it manages the data well. We have those 500,000 records of published survey data. So we're going to do the custom survey of peers and we'll bring those results into it. But already in the database, there's data from Willis Towers Watson. There's data from Mercer. We have the National Recreation and Parks Association, for water utilities, for golf courses, all of these other sources that are already published. And then there is a source that's from the local HR association that is one of the best local sources that you could find around the country of the DC market. So for all of those jobs that are non-governmental that might fit, those are certainly some resources we could use to do that kind of matching as well.
Thank you for the clarity and the detailed response. The only question I have is, can you explain to me what the career stream whole job evaluation is and what it entails?
It is a series of job, families, and career levels, and it's what we use as a classification tool. So we would start by taking your head of finance, for example. That role would fall into our finance family. Based on the size of the city, we know that would be a management role, but we have 5 levels of management that are progressively more responsible and have a bigger impact. So we would match your job to that level of finance. So a director level, or so it certainly could be something more than that, depending on how you treat the role. What that allows us to do is both match it to market as well as develop career progressions. So when Matrix, and I know Jen Winter is on the line now, as they do the organizational assessment, one of the things that we try and align are those management levels of department heads and size of departments, some of those scope items, and it fits in well with the level system. When you get into support roles or individual contributor professional roles, it's a built-in mechanism to help develop career levels. It certainly needs to be balanced with budget and what's approved from a position perspective, but it does help align some career pathing and have that built into it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Before I go to Brianna, Jen is on the line. Jen, can you hear us?
Hello. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, Jen, if you hear the next, 2 of us are going to ask questions now. 3 of us already have. If Dan, if you want her to jump in, if she's the appropriate responder, that's fine. Thanks for being part of the conversation, Jen. I will go to Brianna. Brianna hasn't had a chance yet. Any questions, Brianna?
Yes, bear with me 1 second. I noticed in your project response that you've worked with a lot of our peer cities, not peer cities, but neighboring cities such as Greenbelt, Hyattsville, Laurel, Colmar Manor, Riverdale Park. These are University Park. These are all towns and cities very close to us in proximity. What kinds of projects did you do for them?
It's a variety of projects. Certainly compensation. I know Matrix has done several projects, including with Tacoma Park. And sorry, Jen, I could have let you answer. And then historically, it could be health and welfare consulting, or it could be actuarial or investment consulting on pension plans. So it would be any one of those within the services.
Okay. Is there any, Jen, do you have any more detail potentially? Because I do think that this is a huge advantage you have given the proximity that those cities have to us. If the study is similar, that some of the work has been done already for us. Greenbelt is less than 2 miles from us. Riverdale Park is less than 2 miles from us. But if they were very different projects, I don't see how that would, I mean, that wouldn't weigh against you, but.
Sure. Yeah, most of the projects on our list were operational, so full management consulting studies. So the piece of it that we always do independently as a management consulting firm or with Bolton is the operational, organizational, and staffing assessments. So in some of those cases, our projects were a much deeper dive into operations than what your scope requires. So we do a deeper comparison of best management practice, process, and operations. So that part would be a little bit different. Yeah, I don't think you're asking us to go into that level of detail, but the staffing and organization is fairly similar. Again, I would say probably in most cases, a lot of those projects that are on our list were probably a little bit deeper dives than what you guys are asking for. So when we get into complete resource and staffing analysis versus sort of like looking at the gap comparisons. The primary task of organizational structure is very similar, very relevant. In most cases, when we're looking at that organizational structure, we're looking for just, do the placement of functions make sense? Is span of control of supervisors adequate? Do our positions set up? That's where we work with Bolton to figure out, okay, do positions have the career progression that they need? Do we need to recommend some additional tiers to be able to allow for career development? So I think the organizational review and the staffing oversight piece of it that you guys are requesting is very similar to what we did in most of those locations.
All right. And then the last question I have is, it's similar to the question Councilmember Malave asked regarding timeline. It says that there's 3 to 4 weeks for the employee pay audit. I actually think that possibly could be done a lot faster. We don't have as large staff as some of these other peer cities that you've worked with, and we use Paycom for our records management. Do you think that it'd be possible that could be even more expeditious than your projected forecast?
It certainly could. It's not something I would commit to right now, certainly because we don't know what the records are. But yeah, I mean, we will do it as expeditiously as possible for sure. And I will say, I don't know at what point you'd be ready to select and kick off, but we do work to deadlines. So, if there's something pressing, sometimes we can get deliverables together. Not quicker necessarily for the full piece of that, but if there's some informational items that are needed. The only thing I guess I'd mention too, in terms of the local market, I think the benefit really of having worked with the other organizations in the area is really our ability to get them to participate in the survey, that we have relationships there and we can work on those relationships. I think particularly with some of the operational and organizational studies, there's a tremendous amount of really smart practice that's out there that Matrix has worked on from cities, California, Oregon. Certainly there's the conditions of being in Maryland and whatever that would mean legislatively and operationally. But I think that we're able to bring a lot of great ideas outside of what Tacoma Park would have or Greenbelt. And then, interestingly enough, I live in Cincinnati and I grew up really close to Green Hills, Ohio, which is one of those, the 3 greens, back from the day. So.
Well, thank you so much. I don't have any other questions.
All right, we've used up your time, but I have a couple questions. One, I'll start by complimenting you. When I read this, I've read through 6 of these, and I think I found this concise, right to the point on how you would attack each of our challenges. So thank you. I think you did an excellent job with that. And you mentioned in responding to Brianna about anything that's pressing, and when we would make the selection, just keep in mind that we have to approve a budget that begins July 1, and we start working on it in March, April timeframe. We see it and start having meetings, and our budget is going to be detailed with line items for the different positions, and you'll be looking at salaries, and we want to budget salaries. So that would be something pressing as you do your work, that if you were coming up with recommendations that changed from what we've had before, we'd want to know that. And then the question I'd ask you to comment on is, you mentioned working with the administration and with the council, and you got to work with the employees, but the stakeholders include the public too. So what's your experience with coming to a council meeting and sharing progress reports, even if it's virtually or sending Jen? I mean, is that something you can do too?
Oh yeah, certainly. We regularly present on the back end more often. I anticipate in this project actually treating the council from an interview perspective to as we would the senior management team, and that doesn't happen that often, but certainly reporting back for the public record, do that fairly regularly.
Thank you for coming in person. We have you on our agenda as being virtual, and I guess you meant Jen, but I'm glad you came up here to share with us.
Yeah, no, it was an excuse to go to the corporate offices. I try and stay away. But
You came from Cincinnati to Towson just to come visit with us?
I just spent some time in Towson. but you know, the whole Baltimore, Washington, getting around, nothing's easy. So.
I didn't see in your proposal, it does raise a question. I didn't see anything about travel. Towson to here is a commute.
It's part of the price.
Okay.
It's fixed. Yeah.
Okay, you don't need hotels, you don't need miles.
No,
Okay.
We're all set.
All right, I think we've covered everything. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Excellent. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. And then our next presenter is supposed to be virtual, correct?
They're online.
They're online? Okay. And shift gears in your thinking, council, to BRC, is that correct? Second? BRC Consulting. Outstanding. Are they connected? Are they have a spokesperson?
Good evening, everyone.
There we go.
On behalf of the BRC team, I would like to thank you all for speaking with us regarding this project initiative opportunity. At this time, I would like for you all to meet the BRC team. I'm Harold Cooper, Chief Strategy Officer and Lead Consultant with Compensation Audits.
Good afternoon or good evening. I'm Juanita Morning. I'm lead consultant for the organizational assessment.
Good evening. I'm Aaron Aziz. I'm supporting HR compliance and employee relations.
And good evening, everyone. My name is Adrienne Hibbert, and I am communication strategist and technical writer.
Good evening. My name is Beverly Cooper, and I'll serve as your project manager for this engagement. My responsibility will be to lead coordination and make sure that there is alignment through all phases of this project. I will also serve as your primary point of contact.
Thank you, Beverly. So our project timeline is very seamless. We decided that we wanted to do parallel work streams, ensuring comprehensive analysis while meeting your fiscal year 2026 alignment needs. Now, we do have multiple tasks running concurrently. So we are going to do task 1, task 2, and task 3 side by side. And this accelerated timeline leverages our proven frameworks and experienced team to deliver actionable insights quickly. So we do know that there is quite a few pieces of data that we would need to collect. And we just want to make sure that we have that in hand in order for us to move forward with going through this process. Now, these are our milestones and decision points. We made them very clear. It's about 2 weeks in between each one, except for between week 5 and 6. And that's where we're going to draft, deliver our reports, deliver for initial review and feedback. Week 1, of course, is our kickoff meeting, and we collect our data during that week. And then by week 3, we are going to do employee surveys, and we're going to do the classification validation, and then draft reports. And then week 6, we're going to do the equity analysis and benchmarking. And then by week 8, we will provide a final report and the implementation toolkit. And now I'll hand this off to my colleague, Harold, to go over each timeline.
Thank you, Adrienne. Task 1, compensation audit. This is going to be a 4-week process pertaining to the overall project in which we will gather compensation data, analyze that information, review policy alignment, and identify outliers and examine fiscal alignment. In reference to task 2, organizational assessment and timeline, that's going to be a 4-phase approach. BRC will conduct interviews, review organizational charts and structure, and also look at it and evaluate alignment as it pertains to strategic priorities. We will also provide department level summaries that will lend to meaningful leadership discussions and positive change management. What we're trying to do here is to ensure that workload equity distribution is fair across all job classifications.
Hello.
At this time, we will transition to Juanita.
Thank you, Harold. So as far as the compensation study, it is 8 weeks. And we would begin with a data review where we take a look at external, we conduct surveys in weeks 2, and then weeks 3 and 4 are external benchmarking. And we also look at the internal equity and do some modeling on that. Week 5 is for the salary grade review and design. And then week 6 models the implementation of the costs and different scenarios. In the last weeks, week 7 and 8, they're dedicated to the report finalization, leadership briefings, and also any support materials to help guide and support rollout to leadership. Now, in addition, these are the deliverables by phase, and I want to talk about how we map them to each core task. So task 1 delivers a full compensation audit report. And in task 2, we include the organizational summary sheets to provide department by department insights on the structure, role clarity, and also any opportunities for optimization. In task 3, it produces the updated job classifications and also a revised market competitive salary structure with pay grade recommendations. And in our final phase, we provide an implementation toolkit, and that includes any rollout guidance, any cost scenarios, the communication plans, and strategies to maintain long-term sustainability. And each of these phases, along with the task, helps build toward an end-to-end solution that's clear, actionable, and ready for audit.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity to present to you this evening. We're excited about this transformative engagement, and our team is ready to deliver insights and tools you need to build a more equitable, competitive, and sustainable compensation structure. We're ready to answer your questions at this time, and we definitely welcome your feedback.
Okay, let's see who I'm going to start with this time. We can go back to Agnelli. Are you ready for ERC?
I need a few more minutes to
Okay,
review my
Cynthia,
notes.
Cynthia, are you prepared?
Somewhere else.
Cynthia on mute.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's go to Brianna.
Okay, I'm off mute.
All right, Cynthia.
You say that some of the things be working on at the same time, so like everybody has their own team to be working on certain subjects at the same time?
Yes, I will step in. Yes, absolutely. So Harold and I talked about how there's 8 weeks for the entire process. So he will be leading the team as far as the compensation study, and I will be the lead on the organizational assessment. That's so we can work hand in hand and in tandem with one another to not only ensure our guidelines are met, but that we're in sync with the information that we are gathering to actually support the process in full and ensure that we have a good, robust process in order to deliver the actual tools and good documentation, as well as a great understanding of the organization and what needs to happen next.
So when you give us a report, it'd be one big report where all of it combined?
Harold, do you want to answer? From my perspective, at the end of the day, we will deliver a full report inclusive of our recommendations and our findings, but there will be reporting in the midst of that might be separate. But at the end, we will bring all of that together for a full presentation and recommendations.
Yes, to piggyback off of what Juanita just stated, ma'am, there will be an executive summary, Madam Vice Chair, and what we will have in that executive summary is a detailed analysis of all the sections associated with this process. In reference to the compensation audit piece, there'll be extensive data associated with how we came up with strategies that we're recommending that you all implement, and the same is so for the organizational structure initiative that's outlined in this profile.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. And let me let Brianna go while Agnelli still gathers her thoughts. Brianna, you ready with questions?
Yes, sure. Good evening. Where are you guys located? Just curious.
We're based in the Metro Atlanta area.
Okay, so I saw that travel costs in there, so you're not local. Do you anticipate having to travel more than once to complete this assignment?
No, I don't anticipate that we'll have to travel more than once. to complete the assignment.
Perfect. And then I had one other question. Of course, it's escaping me. I've been writing notes while everyone's been talking, and then I don't remember to write down what I want to ask. Bear with me one second. I think I'll find it as when I go back to the section I was looking at. If I don't find it, maybe Agnelli has the same question as me. Bear with me a second. You know what? I can't. There was something that I saw in the presentation when I was reading it that I cannot recall right now. I don't remember it being a very serious problem, but if I come up with the question, I have all the ways to contact you. So thank you so much.
Thank
We
you.
can come back to you. Let's see if Agnelli's ready with her questions.
Good evening. I would tell you that I love the detail of the deliverables as presented in your proposal, because it gave me an opportunity to say those are the answers we're looking for. There's all these questions that this council has identified. And so having the deliverables map out so clearly by each of the tasks help crystallize that your organization, your company has a clear view of what we're looking for. And there's one sentence particularly that I want to read because it's something for us to all keep in mind internally as we're working on this, in how the three tasks are connected. Is the organizational assessment serves as the bridge between historical compensation practices and the future focused compensation study. So we need to know our history in order to plan our future. We're interested in identifying what happened in the past without assigning blame, just knowing what was done and what can we do better. And I think your proposal does address that. Can you speak a bit into how the market survey would be conducted and the identification of peers?
Yes, Madam Councilwoman. First and foremost, we would take a deep dive into the existing structure that you have now. You have 30 pay grades, you have 25 steps. We'll look at your total budget. I know that Mr. Chairman stated that you all will be working on a budget for the July 1st new fiscal year. And what we'll do is we'll take a look at your positions. You have 52 positions. We'll take in consideration that you have 17 exempt positions and that you have 30 unified collective bargaining positions and 5 non-exempt positions. And we will look at where your current salaries are now. One of the key things to any market data study is looking at trends in your area and nationally. So with New Carrollton being roughly under 14,000 or maybe 14,000 citizens, we will look at cities and towns of like size, such as Oxon Hills, Maryland, such as Fall Church, Virginia, such as Temple Hills, Maryland. And we will take in consideration their population. And when you do the aggregate, when you average it out, that's just under 14,000 as a collective. And we will look at their trends in terms of their salary impact. We'll look at the number of employees they have. Is it on par with New Carrollton having 78 employees? Those are the things we'll do. We'll take the deep dive first from the local area, and then we'll look at that like positions nationally and do our aggregate and our comparisons and synthesize the data at that particular point. But we will also keep in mind that the budget is paramount. And again, your biggest stakeholders and your biggest resources are those 14,000 citizens that make up New Carrollton.
Thank you. Maybe not my last question, but my last question right now. Can you clarify for me the total cost of your proposal? Because when I look at page 41, I'm confused. First line of cost proposal and billing terms says total 38,500. Then there's a breakdown for each of the tasks, and then I get a total that's 77,000.
So I do apologize for that. We had what do you call it? We had the calculator working there. So the total cost of the proposal, we had a formula there. I'm sorry, that's the word I was looking for. Is $38,500. So
Okay.
instead of repeating that at the bottom, the formula calculated the total plus the line item. So that was a mistake.
That's what I gathered, but I wanted a confirmation.
Yes.
Because the paper said differently.
Yes.
So thank you. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That's a big typo. But price isn't the only factor. Let's see, who have I not heard from? Lincoln, you have questions for?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all very much for your detailed presentation. I noted when I was going through your proposal that the company was founded in 2021, which sounds like you all are a fairly new corporation, which is fine. No issues, but I wanted to know, have you worked with other municipalities in the past on similar projects? And if so, have you done any in Maryland or Prince George's County?
Yes, we are currently working on a project with a housing authority in Connecticut. We have not done any work in the Maryland or Prince George's County area.
Fair enough. Thank you for that honest answer. And in my humble opinion, while I was looking at this, and I guess you're doing all three tasks simultaneously, it seemed to me like 8 weeks was an aggressive time frame, which is fine, and I'm sure that you all are capable of getting that done. But what I want to know, is that your company's standard for doing projects of this size and scope?
So we have our teams that are set aside to work on each phase of the project, and so we are prepared to meet the deadline and to ensure that all tasks are completed on time and within budget.
Fair enough. And last but not least, is there a grace period or follow-up period after the final deliverables have been delivered for us to ask questions about implementation or anything that we may be concerned about?
So if whatever questions you have after the project has been completed, we're definitely available to assist and answer any questions you may have. And there's no specific time period in which you can ask those questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. I have no further questions. Mr.
Okay, and I don't have any questions, but Harold, I wanted to let you know that your response to the stakeholders was an excellent response, something I'm going to take into consideration as we review these. And I appreciate your thoughts on that. And I also want you to know that I'll be considering, we've spoken with some firms that are more local, and they may have some experience with Maryland, but there's the other side of that is somebody coming from a distance may have an independent look that may be beneficial to us. So I'll be considering that, but that's all I have. Now, Brianna, did we trigger?
Yes, I did. Well, Councilmember Malave was able to help me. It was the question around the pricing and the numbers. That was one of the questions, but I do have one other question. And it's a question / comment. What the catalyst for the council to take this action was learning about the salaries of the individual employees. We manage the council for our city manages the budget. We manage the purse strings. However, the way our budget was previously presented, only the director's salary was listed, and all of the other employees' salaries were listed under like kind of an umbrella employee services for that department. So it was hard to know who was earning what. The council came and said information at the beginning of this mayor's term, and that was kind of what led the council to want to take this action. And to be frank, which you would be able to see in any council meeting that's taken place on this subject, many of the council believe that the salaries for several employees are too high, above market, or not in line with what other professionals are earning here in the state of Maryland or across the region. Have you ever encountered that in your work previously, where the aim was to right size salaries down as opposed to up, because I feel like the way the language that you guys use talking about equity and things like that, I think that these things usually come from a place of let's making sure we're competitive so that we can retain and recruit the best employees. We are coming from it from a different lens. And so I just wanted to know if you could speak to that.
Madam Counsel, if I can interject, in my own professional experiences, I served as the Human Resources Director for Henry County government. It was the 8th largest county in the Metro Atlanta area. And we had those issues where there was a huge disproportion in terms of salaries and things of that nature, where we had 1,600 employees and we had to address those issues. So one of the things that we did was create progression steps for those employees who needed to be brought up to speed, but also looked at reclassifying those positions that we felt was at an exorbitant amount. Now, is that a difficult thing to do because you have to have difficult conversations with people? Sure. But it was the right thing to do because ultimately we have to put the taxpayers first. In a different career lens, when I served as a county administrator, I had to do the same thing where there was a huge disparity in the leadership pay in comparison to some of the other classifications. And we had to take a look at that and say, hey, our needs have to be our wants and our wants have to be our needs in terms of being fiscally responsible. And what we did was we reclassified positions that may have been directors that probably should have been mid-level management positions and looked at the job classifications and the job descriptions to change them accordingly. Because again, when you're doing a classification and compensation study, it's all inclusive. It's not just the pay grades and the steps. It is taking a deep dive in those, looking at those positions. If it warrants doing a personnel analysis questionnaire where you're sitting down and doing desk audits with these employees, you do that. And then you do that and you compare it to what the job really is entails and what it's supposed to be in terms of job functions. So again, you know, we understand that that may be a task that is not comfortable, but it's a task that's needed. And ultimately it's a task that at the end, those 13,544 citizens that make up New Carrollton will be appreciative of this council for doing such things.
Thank you so much. That's a great answer. I have no other questions.
You know, I just want to second that. That was a great answer, Harold. Thank you for your insights on that. And the way residents have expressed it to me, Harold, is if we have salaries that are above the market rates or competitive rates, the extra money we're paying is money that we lose in providing other services such as parks and roads and things that we need money for. So it just needs to be addressed. But thank you for that answer.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I really appreciate you all being with us tonight. Sorry you couldn't come up here from Atlanta. But when you're up here, the travel costs are included in the number you gave us, right?
The travel costs are not included in the number. I think the
It is
travel
listed somewhere else. Yeah.
it is listed somewhere else in the proposal.
Okay, I didn't see it, but that's okay. Outstanding. We're going to let you folks go. We're almost on schedule. We have another presenter at 8 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you all for this opportunity and thank you for what you do for the citizens.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having us.
All right, good evening. All right, we have MGT. Are they online, Maisha? Or
Is
we got
someone
them
from
early?
MGT Impact Solutions online? Yes.
Yes, good evening.
Okay.
Are you ready for me to go ahead and
Oh,
get
yeah, we're
started?
ready. And just to highlight the instructions, I asked the administration to give you some guidance that you try to present your approach first in 5 minutes if you can, and then give us more time for questions and answers. But use your time accordingly. We'll be here to listen and to respond to your input. You ready?
Great, I am ready. Is it
All
okay
right.
if I share my screen? I just have a short PowerPoint I'll walk through and try to stick to that 5 minute timeline.
If you need a little more, what's your name?
Yes, my name is Rachel Skaggs. I'm a vice president with MGT and looking forward to talking to you. Nice to meet you all.
Okay.
It's not letting me share.
It's
Oh,
the
here we
little
go.
computer at the bottom with the up arrow.
Got it. We're Teams people, so then I'm sharing it here. I get confused. Can you see my screen now?
We
Yes.
got it. It's kind of tiny, but we got it.
There we go.
Okay, great.
All right.
All right. Good evening again. Thank you so much for allowing me some time to present. Really looking forward to this. Sorry I was not able to be in person. We're all really busy with client work this week, and I'm actually leaving to go on site to a client tomorrow morning, so I couldn't attend in person. Really wish I could. But again, thanks for allowing me to be here virtually. So I'm going to skip over the agenda. I'm just going to touch on a few things regarding our proposal and a high-level overview of what we're doing. I think it's really important to note that, you know, at MGT, our approach is always structured and data-driven and tailored because every community that we work with is a little bit different. All of our work is for public sector entities and agencies. We work with a variety of different local governments, county governments, nonprofits, special service districts, and we have to tailor our work to fit our clients' needs because every community is a little bit different. But all of our work is structured and data-driven, and we focus heavily on making sure that we establish a partnership and provide something that you're able to implement and use for a long time. We also emphasize transparency. We want to be collaborative with the city staff, and we also want to adhere to any applicable legal and regulatory requirements as well. I wanted to highlight some work that we've done in the region that you'll see up here. A lot of these were executive recruitment work and studies, not necessarily classification and compensation, but other org assessments and executive recruitment work. So we work all over the United States and have done some work in your region as well. I'll talk a little bit about the scope and methodology. So there's 4 separate tasks. They'll kind of, some of them will overlap in what's being done and they'll sort of be done at the same time. But first task is the salary and pay increase audit. When we start a study, we always have a project kickoff meeting. That's where we really establish the team, the cadence of communication. We talk about the data and information that we're going to need from you. There's always a huge data request at the beginning, and we know that you and your staff and everyone's busy, but we do want to make sure we get all that data and information up front so we don't have to bother you for that later. So we have that data request. We establish a cadence of communication. We talk about the employee engagement, stakeholder engagement, what that's going to look like throughout the process. And then we'll start that COLA, cost of living adjustment review, the salary audit. We'll put together recommendations. We'll provide an Excel model that goes through all of that and looks specifically at those increases and what they look like and any recommendations from that. So that's kind of the first component. The next 2, task 2 and 3, will kind of go together. First is that org assessment. But one thing that we always start with is determining a group of external comparables. And this is really important because we want to determine a group of peers that are most similar to your city. So we're going to look at things such as budget, employees, proximity, per capita income, there's other financial, I'm missing one right now, but there's a few other financial criteria so we can really focus and look at communities that have a similar ability to pay. So we rank those using our methodology. So there's a clear approach, and communities that score the highest in our ranking are then the most similar to your city, and we will propose those to you. However, then we meet with you to have a discussion on that because we also understand, although they might be similar based on those financial criteria, there still might be other competitors in the market. And I know the RFP specifically mentioned looking at the DC Metro, and we want to make sure we include all the peers that you want us to evaluate. So we'll have that discussion with you. We'll start the organizational structure and workflow review. Employees will fill out and complete a job analysis questionnaire, and we'll do that job data review. We'll use those peers that we established to then send out a custom market survey. And that survey will look at specific pay information, benefits, and also have some staffing questions in there so we can really understand and see what those comparable peers are doing in terms of that pay and benefits and staffing, and compare that to New Carrollton and look at that, what those differences are, and make a recommendation on that. So we'll develop a classification and compensation plan. We'll review your current structure, make recommendations, potentially new classifications or grades or a new step system, and talk to you about what works best and our recommendations there. And then we'll also have recommendations on the organizational and staffing structure, realignment, looking at delivery, service delivery, and meeting those needs. We also always provide up to 10 hours and sometimes even more over 3 months after the final recommendations are provided for implementation questions. We want this to be something you can implement and use for many years. So we want to make sure that we're there and you have us to answer any questions that come up. If there needs to be a refresher training on the systems or tools or Excel models, or if there needs to be an appeals process or review for specific positions or classifications that are maybe dissatisfied with some parts of it, we can review those for you. So we always provide that post-study support for at least 3 months, but it can definitely be longer to make sure that it's a plan that you're really comfortable with. I just have 2 more slides. I'll go into a little more detail on the survey data collection. So we use a custom market survey, and we also do our own outreach and research. So we use a custom market survey through a tool called Qualtrics that we'll send out to those peers, but we also always follow that up with our own outreach and research. We will benchmark all of your positions, and we typically look at aiming to compare those to 10 to 15 comparable entities, but we're open to sending that out to more. We'll work with you on a number that makes the most sense in terms of comparable peers. In regards to what we'll need from the city, again, we'll ask for all your org charts, rosters, job descriptions, policies, pay history documentation. So we really get a good understanding of everything that has been going on and what we might need to look at as we survey those peers. And then also internally, when we do those job evaluations, meet with employees, have those employee kickoff meetings, and really understand, all the concerns that are coming up. We'll look, when we do that external market survey, we look at job matches, titles and descriptions, salary ranges, min, mid, and max. We look at starting placement practices, COLAs, step increases, departmental staffing levels, number of positions, and other organization-specific questions that we'll work with you and your team on identifying. And then we'll also gather information as it relates to benefits. And then once we're complete with the study and we present our recommendations and report, again, we provide that support to the city afterwards, up to 3 months or 10 hours. That's a little flexible because, again, we want this to be a partnership and we want to make sure it's something you can use and implement. We'll provide you with a copy of the final report that will have recommendations on how to optimize operations and enhance service delivery. You'll also get a copy of all the Excel files and modeling and all the data that's been collected. We have a classification and compensation manual that we will train the team on to make sure they understand how to use that going forward. And then all of our plans and all of our systems ensure pay equity because we really focus on that internal equity, which ensures the pay equity, along with pay competitiveness, looking out to those comparable peers, and durability. We want these recommendations, the staffing org assessment, the compensation plan to be something you can use for many years, and you don't have to go out and do this again for at least 5 years, but hopefully longer. And then one thing that I always like to highlight, it's my favorite. I have a really great team. We work together really well. We're timely, we're organized, we're efficient, and we just pride ourselves on that communication and teamwork with our clients and that partnership that we develop with them. It's also important to note that almost all of the studies that we've completed have been implemented by the client, and a majority of our clients, or many of them, are repeat clients, which I think is a huge testimony to the work that we do. And then last slide, when we look at the project timeline, we have a 5-month projected timeline. A lot of these tasks will kind of overlap, so they won't be as clear as shown in here on our proposal, but we'll try to complete them in that order. However, there's a lot of overlapping things between the tasks that we'll work on as we go through that. So that is what I had. Thank you for allowing me. I'm sorry, I probably went over the 5 minutes, but I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
No, you're the last one that I said we can wait around for you, and I appreciate the presentation. I was just studying the timeline. I have questions, but I like to defer to the council members first. Let's see who's ready this time. Cynthia, are you unmuted and you have any questions?
No, I think she pretty well answered my questions.
Okay. Nelly, are you prepared with any questions?
Just one. How much room is there from your perspective to compress that timeline?
Yeah, there's definitely opportunities to compress that. There are some overlapping factors. We usually build in some additional time because one of the hardest things is to get those responses from the peers. So we want to make sure we have enough time to put that survey together to make sure we get that peer response. And then if we don't, we can do that additional peer research. However, we can definitely expedite that process. And then the other thing we build in some additional time for that we can expedite is the employee process, because we need them to complete that job analysis questionnaire. We need supervisors to review that. And then we conduct interviews or conversations, I like to call them conversations, with employees to make sure we understand the duties of the position. So the timing for that, as long as we can kind of condense that and employees are aware of that and can get that information to us, we can definitely condense the timeline by a month or two.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's
right.
all.
Lincoln, you have any?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll always start by some things that I noted from looking through your proposal. I see 50 years of experience, 1,200 professionals, and over 30,000 projects delivered. Very impressive. And I also noticed that you work with Greenbelt, Maryland, which is one of our neighbors, on a city manager performance evaluation process. Can you speak to that a little bit and what that entails?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my colleague, Charlene Stevens, who is awesome. She leads our executive recruitment practice, and she was part of that. So one of our services that we provide are city manager evaluations. So oftentimes, you have an HR director that's helping the council facilitate the city manager, city administrator evaluation. And that sometimes puts the HR director in a bad position because that's her supervisor and she's helping facilitate that evaluation. So we provide that as a third-party service where we come in and work with council on evaluation of that position. So that's what we did for them.
Awesome. Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah.
I have a question about the post-study support. You mentioned that the window of opportunity for that is 3 months. If we had questions beyond that time frame, would there be extra fees assessed, or would we be able to ask questions beyond that 3 months?
Yeah, I smile when you say that because I have so many clients that it's way beyond that 3-month timeline, and I'm always here to answer questions. We want to be able to, if it's simple questions on a job, want us to relook at something, confirm something, send an email, there's no additional charge for that. We're more than happy to do that beyond that. The 3 months is really for like if there's any substantial, reclassifications or updating the report to reflect something, that's really what that's for. But any questions, phone call, email that are simple questions that we can answer, there's no charge for that beyond that. If there's some additional work, like let's say there's a brand new position and you want us to do the full evaluation of that position, there's a set fee for that we could do that as an add-on service. But general questions about the work that we've done and has been done, there's no additional fee for that.
Thank you. Last question. I noticed, or more or less a comment, I noticed your price point is very good, $29,475. Is that pretty much standard for a project of this size and scope?
So the community size and employee size of your project, I love. I managed a community of similar size, similar number of employees. So I love the size of the community and the number of employees. It really allows us to do a deep dive and talk to almost every employee and really understand the organization. So in terms of the price point for a community your size, that's definitely very average. And you're probably getting a little more with the organizational assessment and staffing within that price point. Usually full class and comp run around 20 to 30,000.
Thank you very much for answering all my questions. I appreciate it. I have no further questions.
Okay, and I think I haven't gone to Connie
Can
yet.
I just ask one more question?
Sure, go ahead, Cynthia.
Do you have one contact person for us to contact?
Like if we were awarded the study for when we start the project, is that what you're asking?
Yes. Do we have to call a different section for anything we wanted, or is it one particular person
Yeah.
that we would call and they would take that and get the answer?
That's correct. You would have a project lead that would be your main point of contact. We have subject matter experts too, that will help throughout the process. You know, we have a lot of our consultants, almost all of our consultants have worked in local government. So we have, you know, former police chiefs, fire chiefs, HR directors that we sometimes use as subject matter experts, but you have one main contact person, one project manager, project lead. That's your point person that you go to for all questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you,
Yeah.
Chairman.
Sure. Brianna?
Yes, I think some of us have similar types of questions here, and I'll just be blunt as that's how people would describe me if they've met me one time. Your price point is a lot lower than a lot of the other ones we've seen, which obviously makes you a very attractive candidate, but at the same time, it's so much lower than some of the other ones that I'm kind of surprised. Do you think that that's based on the volume of work that your firm does, or the level of expertise? Why do you think? Obviously you're just speculating because you have no idea how those other people came up with their numbers, but I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, no, usually I don't hear that. So I'm like a little shocked by that. I think that the hours that we've allotted for this project allows us to complete the work and what you're looking for within the allotted hours. So I feel like we might, by combining those, looking at the compensation, we might be a little lower than we typically are on some of those, but that's the numbers that we've quoted, the hours that we've allotted. I think we can do the work and do it well. Again, this is the work that we do every day, and we love doing this type of work. And another thing, kind of along the same lines, let's say it takes us way more hours, we're not charging you more because this is the price that we quoted within the proposal. So there's not an increase in that fee for you.
All right, and then I have an additional question that I just asked the last presenter, so you might have had the benefit of hearing their answer. The catalyst for this effort, for this engagement, is that the council only recently became aware of what the salaries are for each individual employee working for the city. Prior to this mayor taking office, it was not clear to the council how much each individual employee was making, other than the directors of the various agencies. All of the salaries were kind of lumped into an employee services bucket. So it would say, $3 million, and we didn't really know how that broke down. And what led us to want to take action on this was that several council members and staff and residents felt that some of these salaries were too high, which I think is probably not the norm in terms of what sets this work off. I think that oftentimes folks want to make sure that their city is retaining good employees and able to recruit competitively. In our situation, we may be lowering salaries. Have you had experience with that sort of element, and how did that go when you had that experience?
Yeah, so we have done many studies and I've been with MGT for almost 7 years, all on classification and compensation, staffing, and org analysis. And over that time, I should have a better number of how many studies I've completed. And you're right, a majority of the time we see the opposite end, where we're bringing employees up to minimum, we're making recommendations because they're being paid below market. But there's a handful of times and within studies where we see the opposite, where employees are being paid outside of the market for the position. And that shows, if a specific employee is being paid outside of the market range, then we need to address that. And the way that we always recommend to our clients to address that is in a consistent manner, right? So you can't do for one person that you're not going to do for the other. So however many you have outside of that market range, you're going to have a consistent approach on how you address that. And what that looks like depends on the client and the needs of the client. So sometimes clients will say, we're going to keep them there, but understand, their salary's frozen until that market range catches up, and what that looks like. Depending on how many years the employee's been there, how many people they have over the max, they might continue to give them the increases, but understand when that person leaves the position, they're going to be brought in within the range where they should be. So again, every client is a little bit different on how that's approached. Our biggest thing when we work with our clients is making sure it's a consistent manner in how to handle that.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful answer. I have no other questions.
Okay, I got everyone right. Rachel, I want to tell you that I was struck by your comment on services being delivered, because I think we elected officials all have to keep in mind that we are part of an organization that's goal is to provide services to the residents. and the people we serve. So I appreciated that comment. You made another comment there about looking at per capita income. And if you look at New Carrollton, and I'm not going to quote numbers now, I don't have them memorized, but in general, a large part of our staff makes substantially higher salaries than the people who live in the city. And some of the people here are not too happy to see that. So that's just one situation that do you see any correlation in the work you've done between per capita income and what the city should be paying its employees?
That's a great question. I'm not sure if I looked at specifically any correlation, but I will say as part of our process, we have conversations on where the city should be and what pay percentile makes sense based on the economic environment, the financial ability of the city. So we do have those conversations, you know, and looking at the 50th percentile, or where we always start with that as a benchmark and then have those conversations. We have some clients in some communities that want to pay above that, some that aren't even at the 50th. So we work with them on a structure to bring them there and show different. So I think that correlates to kind of the environment of the community, but I've never looked specifically as if it relates to per capita income. I'm going to do that now.
Well, you do it if we hire you here.
Yes, I will.
And let's see, we have, when we meet with the public, and now that some of this information that Brianna pointed out hasn't been seen because it's been lumped, and now we looked at some of the details, so much of the public that comes to our meetings is, wow, please hire me. I had no idea we were paying these people that much to run this small town. So made a note, I can't read my writing. Do you have that low price tag, but you're gonna have to do some travel. Do you expect a lot of travel, and that's in addition to the 29,000?
That's correct. That is an addition. We're happy to travel. I'm very happy to travel. We can be there as many times as you would want. You know, pre-COVID, we used to travel for everything, the employee interviews, the employee kickoff meeting, the council presentation. After that, we've had a lot of success in doing it virtual, and it does save money, of course, but I do understand it also helps to be in person. So we could have discussions during that initial kickoff meeting on what phases or what time makes sense for us to come in person, and we're happy to do that. That would be additional, and it would just be travel expenses that would be charged for that.
And I could read my writing now. I just wanted to point out, we had a compensation study done 9 years ago by a company called the Mercer Group. And one of the things they came away with, they adjusted the salaries. And as you mentioned, some went up, some were frozen, some were told you're not going to get it. And some people were happy and some people were not. But I remember that I was in the council way back then. I'm an ancient person around here. I remember the guy from Mercer saying, we've looked at New Carrollton. You have the best benefits package we've seen anywhere in the country. So we have a wonderful benefits package here in addition to that. So keep that in mind if we choose you to look at our study. But that's all I have. Anybody else before we let Rachel go?
No, but thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thanks to whoever organized it. The instructions were very clear. I appreciate all of that. And I look forward to the opportunity to work with you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Rachel. Good evening.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, now if I go back to the agenda, we've done the council announcements. But Brianna, I've been thinking a little bit about your comment, and I agree. I can put that on. I'm just going to adjust the agenda accordingly because I envision people having a lot to say. I have a lot to process. I couldn't vote on this tonight. And I think people will have a lot of thoughts the next time we meet. And I wanted to set aside an hour where that's all we thought about. But I'm willing to put it on the agenda for the Wednesday. And maybe we can do it in 15 minutes. But if it turns into an hour, I'll just cut things off the agenda because I think this council may want to discuss this at great length. There have been some very good responses from 6 very good organizations. And we need to process this carefully before we take a vote. Price is one thing, but this was a very quality firm too, in my view. So we have a lot to think about. With that said,
Agnelli has her virtual hand up.
I am sorry, Agnelli, I didn't see it. Please take the.
This process is driven by concerns identified by the council. However, before making a vote, I would like to hear from the city manager and the mayor about which of the proposals they see fitting the needs of the city, because they will be tasked with implementing the recommendations. And so I would like to allocate some time to hear Maisha speak to a recommended proposal.
Tonight, or you want to give her time to process too?
No, when we get to
Oh,
the
absolutely.
discussion, because she also needs time to process this.
Absolutely. And I thought next Wednesday is soon enough, and the following Wednesday is certainly soon enough. That gives us 2 full weeks to think about it. But I just want to make sure that we, as a group, allow enough time for everyone to express their concerns and have time to have a very serious vote that comes up with the best candidate here. It's a very difficult choice that I see it right now, and I have to do some more studying. So, and Cynthia, when you get back in town, I have your packet. We'll get it to you so you can read all the details and print a copy. With that said,
I'm here.
I have your packet, but I have it in my house. So I'll give it to you, the printed copy in case you want to look through these proposals.
Yes, yeah,
At your
I was
leisure,
gonna go
okay?
to, I was gonna go to the office tomorrow, but if you
Well,
have it, okay.
I made a mistake and grabbed papers and I took it to my house. I was going to bring it back tonight and I left it at my house. You can have
Okay.
mine. Mine's full of all my notes. So with that said,
Mr. Chair,
yes.
I think it would be good for our discussion at the future meeting for us to rank for ourselves, 1 through 6, how we felt about the performances. That way, I think that will guide the discussion, because if several of us rank the same ones very low or very high, I think that could narrow the focus. So if, I don't know, I'm just posing that out there as a way to kick off that discussion and make it expeditious.
Well, you're posing it and I'll make that an assignment and I will do it. Okay. And if you can, please rank them how you see it and then have a reason for that. But if each of us goes to the ranking and gives our reasons, I'm not saying a 5-minute discussion, but that's fine. I agree, Brianna. All right. We can move to residents' concerns. If anyone wants to go to the podium, we have a large audience tonight. On cell phones. We have some hands online, I guess, and people have been following up. How many participants tonight, Maisha?
We have 14 people online.
Anybody want to make a comment about the selection of a
The
consultant?
majority of the people online work for the city of New Carrollton.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I think the majority of them are us.
Okay, well, we can get out of here a little bit early then. The next meeting, as it turns out, will be after the holiday. It'll be a Wednesday, and I will not schedule it to meet next week. Then we'll just plan to fit this into that meeting. And Caitlin will tell me what else needs to be in the agenda next week.
Agnelli has her hand up again once more.
All right, Agnelli.
I'm sorry, I missed some things. Since the original idea of meeting next week was scrapped and we're discussing it on Wednesday, the 18th, when are we voting?
On the 18th?
On the 18th?
That I don't like that idea. I wanted us to have a discussion and vote. But since Brianna suggested we rank them all, maybe we'll be ready on the 18th. The sooner we vote, the sooner we can choose somebody, of course, and get them in here working. So let's plan on voting on the 18th unless anything interferes with that. Is that okay, Agnelli?
Yes, I'm interested in making a decision so the city can engage and sign a contract and set that kickoff meeting, because I cannot at the moment visualize how the timeline for the project will help us get to an approved budget before July 1st, because I don't see enough time. And how can we make informed decisions for the future? But that's not conversation for today. So the important thing is to get it going and get it out the door.
That's fine. I can take care of myself.
Okay, now, Agnelli, in the packets, there are contacts at each of these places. If you feel you have a question that they could answer about that, feel free. We interacted with them tonight, but you can call them one-on-one too.
Okay, wait a minute. Is that legal? Whatever you tell one contractor, you have to make sure that all of them have the same answer.
That's not illegal.
No, this is specific. If I have a specific question for Bolton, it doesn't relate to MRC. If I have a question that he said something, I'll ask what he meant. I think Brianna's right. There's nothing illegal about contacting a vendor if proposed.
All right.
And now that would be my advice, and I plan to do the same if questions come up that I feel that I've missed something. And I think you'd find that all 6 of the presenters would be eager to share with us any additional information on the project. Just prepared to take some time to listen to themselves to listen.
There is one hand up virtually. Miss Shirley Brown has her hand up.
Okay, let's hear Miss Shirley Brown. You on there?
Take yourself off mute.
Yeah, Ms. Brown, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
You have to hit the mic with the line through it.
I got it. Good
Yeah.
evening, Madam Mayor and council members. How are you all doing today?
We're well.
Great.
Well,
I really enjoyed the presentations of all 6 of the groups that you had between Monday and today. I just one thing I wasn't clear on when they were asked to come, if they're in comparing the different cities around us in terms of compensations, or if the likelihood of the compensations being equal or close to make their recommendations from. I did not hear anything mentioned of Montgomery County. Are they also looking at Montgomery County? And that's all I have to ask.
You know, I think I'd let Brianna answer that one because she's been following that closely. Brianna, I think they said they were going to look all around, right?
Yeah, I heard that too. And then also, so what's interesting about Montgomery County is that they have 2 gigantic municipalities and several teeny tiny municipalities. And so I think it would be hard to find a peer city in Montgomery County. Tacoma Park would probably be the closest in size, but their budget is 6 times ours. So I would not say that they were a peer. But you have Rockville and Gaithersburg, which are gigantic conglomerate cities, and then you have teeny tiny towns like
Only.
North Chevy Chase, which has like 12 people in it. So,
It would be, but that would be up to the consultant. All right.
Yeah.
The gentleman don't answer questions, but I thought Brianna might have something to say on that. I'm ready to take a motion to adjourn for the evening. If everyone else is- I'm sorry.
I do want to remind everyone, since we're not going to have a council meeting on Tuesday, February 17th, please join us at the library for the tool, Safe Streets public hearing from starting at 6 o'clock at the New Carrollton Library.
And I didn't include that in my announcement. I should have. The reason that News Tuesday is not good for us to replace the Monday that's the holidays because the city has another function going on that the council members should attend. So please make a note of that in your calendar, and we will meet again on Wednesday.
Okay.
Thank you, Misha. Thank you for helping me clarify that. If we have a motion to adjourn, I'll go home.
Mr. Chair, I move that we adjourn.
I
I'll second.
Third. Our third.
Got Cynthia in there, and all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
I think we got it.
And I'll apologize in advance. I won't be able to attend that town hall because I got free Trevor Noah tickets. So
Ah,
I'll be thinking of you as I'm laughing hysterically at the water.
Brother, no.
He does an awesome show.
I
Yeah.
love
Have you seen him?
him.
I've seen him a couple times. He's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Andres works at the Warner, so he got us free tickets.
outstanding. Enjoy.
Everybody have a good night. Stay safe.
Stay warm.